Donald John Trump. A name synonymous with wealth, ambition, and controversy. From the gleaming towers of Manhattan to the world stage of politics, Trump's journey is an American saga. Born into privilege, he built a real estate empire, becoming a household name. His foray into entertainment further cemented his celebrity status. Trump's ambition, however, extended beyond boardrooms and television screens. The allure of politics beckoned, culminating in a stunning presidential victory in 2016. His presidency proved as divisive as his persona, with bold policy moves and fiery rhetoric that captivated supporters but alienated others. Trump's time in the Oval Office was tumultuous, marked by investigations, impeachments, and constant battles with his opponents. Now, as a private citizen, Trump faces legal battles that could forever tarnish his legacy. This is the story of Donald Trump. From businessman to president, from the pinnacle of power to the precipice of justice. Donald Trump's story began in the Jamaica Estates neighborhood of Queens, New York. Born in June 1946, he was the fourth of 5 children in a family steeped in the world of real estate. His father, Fred Trump, was a successful developer, providing a comfortable, albeit disciplined upbringing for young Donald. The Trump patriarch instilled in his son a drive to succeed, a trait that would define Donald's life. Sent to the New York Military Academy at age 13, Trump excelled in academics and athletics, developing a competitive streak that never faded. After graduating from military school, Trump attended Fordham University before transferring to the Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania. At Wharton, he focused on economics, earning a degree in 1968, a stepping stone to the family business. Trump's early years were a blend of privilege and pressure. He learned the ropes of real estate from his father, visiting construction sites and absorbing the art of the deal. The lessons learned in those formative years would shape his approach to business and eventually politics. Joining his father's company after graduation, Trump quickly made his mark. He secured a loan and spearheaded the renovation of the dilapidated Commodore Hotel, transforming it into the Grand Hyatt, New York. The deal, a testament to Trump's audacity and negotiating skills, announced his arrival in Manhattan real estate. Trump Tower, a gleaming skyscraper on Fifth Avenue, became his signature project. Completed in 1983, it epitomized the Trump brand, luxurious, ostentatious, and unapologetically bold. He ventured into casinos, airlines, and even professional football, building a sprawling empire that extended far beyond real estate. Trump's success, however, was often intertwined with controversy. His lavish lifestyle, multiple marriages, and high-profile business failures fueled tabloid headlines. Yet he remained undeterred, cultivating a persona that thrived on publicity, both good and bad. Through it all, Trump possessed an uncanny ability to rebound from setbacks. He leveraged his celebrity, becoming a best-selling author and the star of The Apprentice, a reality television show that further amplified his fame and fortune. Trump's political ambitions simmered beneath the surface for decades. A registered Democrat for much of his life, he flirted with running for president in 1988 and 2000, ultimately deciding against it. However, his interest in politics never waned. In 2011, Trump became a leading proponent of the birther conspiracy theory, falsely claiming that President Barack Obama was not born in the United States. This move, widely condemned as racist, nevertheless raised his profile among conservative Republicans. Trump's rhetoric grew increasingly populist, tapping into a vein of economic anxiety and cultural resentment. He railed against illegal immigration, trade deals, and the political establishment, presenting himself as an outsider who could make America great again. When Trump announced his candidacy for president in June 2015, few took him seriously. His campaign, however, struck a chord with voters disillusioned with the status quo. Trump's promise to shake up Washington resonated with millions of Americans who felt left behind by globalization and political correctness. January 20th, 2017. Donald J. Trump, defying all expectations, stood before a nation divided and took the oath of office. His inauguration speech, a stark departure from tradition, painted a bleak picture of American carnage and promised a radical departure from the past. Trump's presidency was a whirlwind of activity, marked by bold policy moves and a relentless assault on the norms of American politics. He withdrew the United States from the Trans-Pacific Partnership Trade Agreement, imposed tariffs on goods from China and other countries, and moved the U.S. Embassy in Israel to Jerusalem, a move lauded by supporters and condemned by critics. His signature legislative achievement, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017, slashed taxes for corporations and individuals, fueling a period of economic growth. He appointed two conservative justices to the Supreme Court, Neil Gorsuch and Brett Kavanaugh, shifting the balance of the court for a generation. Trump's presidency, however, was also defined by chaos and controversy. His administration was plagued by high turnover, with numerous cabinet members and advisors resigning or being fired. His use of social media, often impulsive and inflammatory, further inflamed tensions and alienated allies. The Russia investigation, a cloud that hung over Trump's presidency from the beginning, intensified in 2019. Special counsel Robert Mueller's report, while not finding sufficient evidence of collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia, did not exonerate Trump on obstruction of justice. In December 2019, Trump became the third president in U.S. history to be impeached by the House of Representatives. The charges stemmed from his efforts to pressure Ukraine to investigate his political rival, Joe Biden, while withholding military aid. The Senate, however, acquitted Trump on both articles of impeachment, largely along party lines. The impeachment saga further deepened the partisan divide in American politics, with Republicans largely defending Trump and Democrats condemning his actions. Despite the acquittal, the impeachment cast a long shadow over Trump's presidency. It fueled accusations of abuse of power and corruption, further eroding public trust in his administration. The impeachment would also serve as a prelude to the even more dramatic events that would unfold in the final year of his term. As Trump entered his final year in office, the COVID-19 pandemic swept across the globe, upending life as we knew it. The Trump administration's response to the pandemic was widely criticized, with accusations of misinformation, mismanagement, and a lack of urgency. Despite the challenges of the pandemic, Trump campaigned vigorously for re-election, holding rallies across the country and continuing to stoke division and sow distrust in the electoral process. He repeatedly made unsubstantiated claims of widespread voter fraud, setting the stage for the tumultuous events that would follow. On November 3, 2020, Americans went to the polls in record numbers. Joe Biden, the Democratic nominee, defeated Trump in both the popular vote and the Electoral College. Trump, however, refused to concede the election, making baseless claims of fraud and seeking to overturn the results through legal challenges and pressure on state officials. Trump's actions in the aftermath of the election further divided the nation and culminated in the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol by a mob of his supporters. The insurrection, a dark day in American history, shocked the nation and led to Trump's second impeachment by the House of Representatives, this time for incitement of insurrection. Even as Trump left office, facing a second impeachment trial and mounting legal troubles, he remained a powerful force in American politics. However, the walls were closing in. The Department of Justice, under the new Biden administration, ramped up its investigations into Trump's business dealings and his actions surrounding the 2020 election. In New York, Manhattan District Attorney Cyrus Vance Jr. convened a grand jury to investigate potential financial crimes by the Trump Organization. The investigation, which began as a probe into hush money payments made during the 2016 campaign, expanded to encompass a wide range of Trump's business practices. Meanwhile, in Georgia, Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis opened an investigation into Trump's efforts to overturn the state's election results. The investigation focused on a phone call Trump made to Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, in which he pressured Raffensperger to find enough votes to overturn Biden's victory in the state. As the investigations intensified, Trump remained defiant. He lashed out at his accusers, calling the investigations witch hunts and claiming that he was the victim of a politically motivated campaign to silence him. His loyal base of supporters echoed his claims, dismissing the investigations as a partisan effort to overturn the results of the 2020 election. The weight of evidence, however, proved too great to ignore. In April 2023, the Manhattan grand jury indicted Trump on 34 felony counts related to business fraud, marking the first time in American history that a former president had faced criminal charges. The indictment sent shockwaves through the country, further deepening the political divide. Trump, appearing shaken but defiant, pleaded not guilty to all charges. His legal team vowed to fight the charges vigorously, accusing the Manhattan District Attorney's Office of prosecutorial overreach and political bias. The stage was set for a legal battle that would captivate the nation and test the very foundations of American democracy. The trial, which began in March 2024, was a media spectacle. Cameras captured every twist and turn as prosecutors presented a detailed case alleging that Trump had engaged in a pattern of financial misconduct, inflating his assets to secure loans and insurance policies while deflating them to minimize his tax burden. Trump's lawyers countered by attacking the credibility of the prosecution's witnesses, many of whom were former Trump associates who had agreed to cooperate with authorities. They argued that the case was politically motivated and that Trump's actions were nothing more than aggressive business practices common in the world of real estate development. The conviction of Donald Trump on multiple felony counts has not only shaken the political landscape, but also stirred robust debate among legal experts. Many analysts have scrutinized the legal proceedings, noting the unprecedented nature of prosecuting a former president. Legal commentators have pointed out the meticulousness of the prosecution's case, emphasizing that the charges were not just about financial improprieties, but painted a broader picture of systemic misconduct. They argued that the evidence presented showcased a pattern of behavior that went beyond mere aggressive business tactics to potentially deliberate and systematic fraud. Furthermore, discussions in legal circles have also revolved around the implications of these convictions for the rule of law in America. Some scholars expressed concerns about the precedent it sets, while others lauded it as a step towards reaffirming that no individual, regardless of their status or past office, is above the law. In addition to these debates, there has been significant attention on the potential appeal processes. Legal analysts predict a series of appeals potentially reaching the Supreme Court. This phase is expected to be closely watched, as it could influence future prosecutions of high-profile figures in the United States. The reactions to Trump's conviction have varied widely across the political spectrum. highlighting the polarized nature of current US politics. Right-wing media outlets have largely portrayed the verdict as a political witch hunt designed to sideline Trump from future political involvement. In contrast, mainstream media have generally presented the trial and its outcome as a triumph of justice. Prominent Democratic figures, including President Joe Biden, have cautiously welcomed the verdict. In official statements, they have emphasized the importance of the judiciary's independence and the principle that nobody is above the law. Meanwhile, key Republican figures have either decried the trial as biased or maintained a conspicuous silence, perhaps reflecting the internal divisions within the party regarding Trump's legacy. Internationally, the conviction has also been headline news, with global leaders and foreign media closely monitoring the situation. The international perspective generally frames the trial as a critical test of American democratic institutions and their ability to hold even the highest powers accountable. Lastly, the public's reaction has been mixed, with some celebrating the verdict as a long overdue measure of accountability, while others view it as a miscarriage of justice influenced by political motivations. This division is not just a reflection of differing views on Trump's innocence, but also of deeper ideological divides that the trial has brought to the fore once again. The courtroom fell silent as the guilty verdict echoed through its hallowed halls. Yet, outside, a storm was brewing. Donald Trump, never one to shy away from the spotlight, responded to his conviction with a characteristic mix of defiance and indignation. His words, delivered in a fiery speech outside the courthouse, painted a picture of a man wronged, a victim of a vast conspiracy. Trump, his voice laced with anger and disbelief, railed against the corrupt justice system, accusing prosecutors of being politically motivated thugs determined to destroy him. He claimed the trial was a sham, the jury rigged, and the verdict a travesty of justice. His words, echoing through the gathered crowd of supporters, ignited a chorus of boos and chants of witch hunt. He reiterated his claims of innocence, insisting that his actions were nothing more than common business practices, blown out of proportion by his enemies. The conviction, he declared, was a desperate attempt to silence him, to prevent him from running for president again and making America great again. His speech, broadcast live on news channels across the country, served as a rallying cry for his most ardent supporters, further solidifying the deep political divisions already plaguing the nation. It was a stark reminder of Trump's enduring influence, his ability to command attention and shape the narrative, even in the face of seemingly insurmountable legal challenges. Trump's post-conviction speech, a torrent of accusations and pronouncements of innocence, ignited a firestorm of debate. Fact-checkers working overtime meticulously dissected his claims, comparing them to the evidence presented at trial and the historical record. Their findings painted a starkly different picture than the one Trump had presented. His assertions of a rigged jury and a sham trial were quickly debunked. The jury, comprised of ordinary citizens, had been carefully vetted by both the prosecution and the defense. The trial itself, presided over by a respected judge, had adhered to all legal standards and procedures. Trump's claims of innocence, too, were contradicted by the evidence. Financial records, emails, and testimony from former associates painted a picture of a systematic effort to mislead lenders and tax authorities. The jury, after hearing weeks of testimony and reviewing mountains of evidence, had reached a unanimous guilty verdict on all 34 counts. His speech, while energizing his base, did little to sway public opinion. Polls conducted in the aftermath of the conviction showed that a majority of Americans believed he was guilty and supported the jury's verdict. Even some Republicans expressed discomfort with Trump's rhetoric, acknowledging the seriousness of the charges and the need for accountability. The guilty verdict delivered unto Donald Trump marks a watershed moment in American history. Never before has a former president faced such a reckoning, a fall from grace as dramatic as his rise to power. The man who once stood at the apex of American society, who commanded the world's attention and reshaped its political landscape, now faces the prospect of a future defined by legal battles and potential imprisonment. The implications of Trump's conviction reverberate far beyond the confines of a courtroom. It has exposed the fragility of American democracy, its vulnerability to the whims of populism and the erosion of truth. Trump's ability to maintain a loyal following, even in the face of overwhelming evidence of wrongdoing, underscores the deep polarization that continues to grip the nation. The upcoming presidential election will serve as a referendum on Trump's legacy and the future of American politics. Will his conviction embolden his supporters, fueling a backlash against the perceived injustices of the deep state? Or will it serve as a wake-up call, a catalyst for a return to civility and a renewed commitment to democratic principles? The answers to these questions remain elusive, shrouded in the uncertainty of a nation grappling with its identity and its future. One thing is certain. The story of Donald Trump, from businessman to president to convicted felon, is far from over. Its final chapter has yet to be written.